Hey there everyone, Lord FEH here with another episode of AR Mock Battles. It has been quite some time since we did the last one. The queue was empty for a while, then we actually had one volunteer come up, but that wasn't really enough to merit a mock battle video, so finally this past week, we got another volunteer, so I will be going ahead and proceeding against those two maps. One of them is actually a light dark setup, so I'll be using the Switch Seasons feature to get to that map. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about these setups. The first match is going to be against the light dark setup for Eve White Asterisk. This requeue was requested probably 2 or more weeks ago, but I just didn't have anybody else in the queue, so I didn't feel it would be worth doing a mock battle video. But now I do have a second map, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this setup. We have armors, looks like a savior setup. Let's take a look. We have Eldigan with Fortress Def, Aerobatics, Def Opening, Guidance, Wagasa Dance, and Bonfire. Flane has Attack Res Bond, Dazzling Staff, Ground Orders, Air Orders, Caduceus Staff, Rescue, Deluge Balm. Gustav with Double Close Def, Crafty Fighter, that's DR Close Save? Near save. I should have known. Near, far, blah, blah, blah. Loyalist, Axe, Swap, and Ignis. Henriette with Distant Def, Wary Fighter, AR Far Save. Attack, Def Bond, Unity, Bloom, Swap, and Iceberg. Felix with Speed, ARD Speed Res, Bold Fighter, Attack Smoke, Mirror Strike, Reindeer Bow. Actually, what does this thing do again? I forgot. Communities within 2 spaces and ally. Okay, stats and guard. Cool. Reposition an Iceberg. And finally, Hell. I actually wonder if maybe I've caught this at a bad time. I am using the Switch Seasons feature to test this map, or take a look at this map while it's still Aster Season, I guess is the most accurate way to say it. And I'm thinking this may just be a bonus mythic slot. So Hell has Distant Counter, Guard, Bearing, Inevitable Death, Mystic Boost, Hell's Reaper Reposition in Noontime. Pretty standard sets all around. I think the biggest problem with this map, if I had to say there was one, is that it's a very enemy phase oriented setup, and you've provided the attackers with 2 defense tiles. These units, particularly these 2 units, I guess Felix, you could make a bit of an argument. But Gustav and Henriette in particular, they really want to be fighting on the enemy phase, and they don't want to be initiating combat, and these defense tiles are basically just inviting attackers to use an enemy phase style strat. In fact, I could probably... I don't think Felix threatens Idun. I mean, he has color advantage and a good chunk of attack, but Idun has a lot of defense and a defense tile. So let me actually try this. Idun FBI team is here. So I'm thinking I do this, that, doesn't matter. Okay, so I can do this, refresh, smite, and interestingly, she can't actually KO the Gustav. That's funny. I mean, might as well reduce his HP. Alright, and then Edelgard can come in here. See how the enemy phase goes. Penalties, that doesn't hurt her at all. Oh, Gustav's attacking first. Yeah, that's not a good sign. The AI tends to prioritize, of course, as I've said, I believe multiple times now, that it'll prioritize non-losing combats first. Of course, Flame does have Dazzling Staff, but she didn't have a space from which to attack. So the fact that Gustav chose to go first was, it wasn't a good sign. Let me go ahead and see how best to do this. I want to get the Aether Structures. What is Deluge Balm? Okay, so it's not Miracle, so I don't necessarily mind you charging that up. I would prefer if you didn't, to be perfectly honest, but it's not actively bad. Gosh, how would I do this? Because I could trap you, right? Do that with Idun. I don't know. I probably don't have. Well, Well, actually, that's probably fine. I could do this, refresh, smite, even if that's real, it doesn't really matter. It wasn't real anyway, because doing this blocks Flameian anyway, so it's not like she's going to get an attack off. Then move there, and then have Idun finish the job. Yeah, that was, I think this particular map, giving them the defense tiles really throws off the enemy phase style philosophy that this map is trying to pull off, or that this team is trying to pull off. As for how to fix it, honestly, I think you could probably take this onto any terrain that doesn't have defense tiles, and it'll be about as effective as if it were on here. The base range of these units, it's not particularly high, so you don't really get a whole lot of benefit from having this impassable wall here. You could probably even stick it on Wintry, or you could probably stick it just about anywhere, and anywhere without defense tiles, and it'll perform better than setups of terrains with defense tiles. That's one thing I would note in that regard. Yeah, that's my observation. So, thank you very much for sharing your map. Let's go ahead and go on to setup number 2. Today's second map is the Astra Anima setup for .tv/GM Mystic. I actually did go ahead and just take some time before this actual match to poke around at things, do some test runs, and just figure stuff out. So I'm going to take this pre-battle time, to discuss the map strategy, the sorts of things I notice about it, the approach that I initially crafted, and then that approach, unfortunately, did end up losing one unit and failing to get both Aether structures, which was quite unfortunate. So I'll then discuss the other things that I tried before finally arriving at the full, complete clear that I used. So let's go ahead and take a look at these skills. We have Mirabilis with Fort Def Res, Aerobatics, Odd Tempest, Close Guard, Flower V's, Whimsical Dream, and Miracle. Veronica has ARD Attack Speed, Wrathful Staff, Odd Recovery, HP Speed, Flash, No Assist, and Miracle. Sigurd has ARD Speed Res, Wind Sweep, Ward Cavalry, Phantom Speed, Guilt Goblet, Dance, and Miracle. Saros has Mirror Impact, Dragon Wall, Odd Tempest, Sturdy Blow, Aurora Breath, No Assist, and Iceberg. Mirabilis has Fort Def Res, Wings of Mercy, Ground Orders, Distant Guard, Flower V's, Whimsical Dream, and Miracle. Edelgard is carrying Distant Counter, Black Eagle Rule, AR Far Save, Attack Res Bond, Flower Hot Claire Pivot, and Iceberg. And finally, Lelina has Double Life and Death, Sabotage Res, Fatal Smoke, I think that's what that's called? Okay, cool. Studied Foreblaze, Rally Speed, and Gifted Magic. So this is a 7th slot trap map. Edelgard, her action is taken away at the beginning of the enemy phase as long as you have not defeated any of the enemy units. So she is then eligible to get a refresh from somebody. In this case, both Sigurd and Mirabilis have weapons, and they both have non-positioning assists, so the tiebreak for who gets to perform the refresh falls to the distance from the closest enemy tiebreak. Sigurd is almost certainly furthest away from the closest enemy to him, so he will jump out and refresh Edelgard. Then his range is significantly increased. As you can see, he'll have cavalry movement from this location, so he gets to go 1, 2, and then 3 in either of these 2 directions. And then his weapons range is 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This kind of area is his extended range. If there is anything in it, then he will be eligible for a rally. Lelina will perform that from this space, since she doesn't have any other space. Unless I guess you could break this and run away. But I'm not sure that would solve your problems. She will then get refreshed by Mirabilis, and then her range is extended from here to 1, 2, 3, oh gosh, that's quite significant. So after that, as long as you are running a 6-unit team, there's no way you have everyone safe from Lelina's threat range, so she's going to attack. And then Saros is going to move. She has 3 movement, and she can get refreshed by Mirabilis. So say she goes here, right? since she has Odd Tempest 3 movement, she can then go either 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, and then her attack range is out to here. These tiles, anything in this general area is threatened. So you really have 3 spaces unless you block her somehow. So Saros is guaranteed in this scenario to be able to attack one of your units, which is quite threatening. So the first thing I noticed is that once Sigurd actually goes out here to dance, I do happen to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces that are not in his range. So I can avoid that, the rally portion entirely. The enemy phase will just stop after he provides the dance. So the first thing I thought of was to try and exploit that. I had Regan here. I hit her up with a smite. She took out Sigurd and ran away. And then I stuck Sothis here to block Saros from going down and attacking. And in fact, she went down to the Divine Fang boosted Sothis. So that was my first attempt. Unfortunately, Veronica has no assist, so she moves before Mirabella. She came down, got the refresh, and sniped my poor Regan. That was not good. So the next couple of things I tried actually used teams that had Bright Fjorm on them. I isolated this Mirabilis and initiated on an even-numbered turn, so Odd Recovery wouldn't kick in. I did the same thing. I just hit out in the spaces that I have free, and then when the time came, I hit Regan with a smite, took out the Sigurd, ran away, and this time Veronica couldn't get the refresh because Mirabilis was isolated. Unfortunately, the teams that do have Bright Fjorm on them are not well equipped to handle Saros at all, especially bonus unit Saros, so those 2 plans unfortunately fell flat as well. Then finally what I tried was I went back to a line of thinking I had before I actually executed my first attempt, and that was, well, Edelgard's in armor and she has AR far save. I wonder if Micaiah can just delete her. And as it turns out, she can. I really wish I had calculated that out before I did my first attempt with the Dragon Wagon, because that would have saved me a whole lot of trouble. But here I can actually go ahead and show you what that attempt looks like. So I had this sort of structure going, and then what I did was I did this, and actually Micaiah has the Divine Fang bonus from Naga, so her Joyful Vows is active, so she's actually able to take out the Edelgard immediately. Then, from there, with Edelgard taken out, I can actually move Brunia in to take out Saros. She is also able to get the KO thanks to being Divine Fang boosted. And then finally what I did was I actually refresh Altina, give her a smite, and had her take out Veronica. Now, I had 2 choices, obviously. Option 1 was to take out Veronica. Option 2 was to take out Lilina. Unfortunately, Mirabilis is too bulky in this scenario. And the reason I went after Veronica was I forgot that Micaiah was in Lilina's range. So I thought she was going to rally Sigurd, since of course Altina cannot be attacked by Lilina from this position, and basically her action would then be wasted. Well, that was a mistake, since Lilina can't attack Micaiah. I'm not really sure how I managed to forget that. Fortunately, there is no threat from Lilina to Micaiah. She's just too res bulky for that. And then Sigurd actually did end up attacking into Altina, since again he wind sweeps her. I figure that's probably one of the reasons that he even has that kind of speed and wind sweep focused setup, just to deal with the likes of Altina, to clean up Altina without tripping her Vantage, and possibly to deal with opposing Brave Edelgards. I'm not sure if that was one of the intents, but it could possibly work for that purpose. So let's see here. Then I went ahead and deleted both Mirabilises. I did this in order to ensure that Sigurd would be able to attack into Plumeria once Altina moved out of the way. The reason I wanted to do that was to avoid having him die on the enemy phase, which I then realized was unnecessary because I can just smite Brunia up here. The only reason I would have wanted him to live would be to give myself time to take out the Aether Structures. Of course, they're both down, so that wasn't necessary. But, oh well. So let me go ahead and do this, and then hit end turn. He'll attack into Plumeria, since that's the only character that won't destroy him on the counterattack. And then, can Micaiah actually do this? Oh, she can. Sweet. So I had Micaiah can finish the job afterwards. She deserves it after all the work she put in there. So that is that map. So that was a very interesting setup. Definitely devastating if you don't have a lot of open space on your back line. And yeah, I kind of lucked out that Micaiah was able to get that KO off. I guess there was a little bit of leeway on the matchup, just because I could have had Naga smite Altina up here. That would have given Micaiah a Goad Flyers bonus, just to help give her a little bit of a damage bump. But yeah, it was interesting. So thank you very much for sharing your map, and that is actually the last one for this batch. And that is it. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of AR Mock Battles. I'm not really sure when the next one is going to be. I think I will continue to wait for at least 2 volunteers, and then I'll go ahead and say that's enough to do a mock battle video. Of course, as of this moment, the queue is currently empty, so we'll have to see what happens on that front. That is all I have for you this time. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.